Self-love, the key to a healthy mind, rock-solid confidence, and fulfilling relationships. You ever wonder why some people have it all, but still feel incomplete? Or why others flow through life with ease, smiling like it's all a breeze? Well, I've been in both spots. Here's what I've discovered after years of soul-searching, experimenting, and finally unlocking the code to self-love. And I'm gonna show you step by step how to start loving yourself. Since I started the journey of improving my charisma, confidence, and dating life, the thing that made the most difference and the thing that actually returned the most vibe was actually this: how to actually start accepting myself for who I really am and how to start loving myself unconditionally. For me, this was a huge blind spot as well. By any objective measure, I was doing a pretty decent job. I was attracting the right situations and people in my life. On the surface though, only on the surface, because deep down, I felt that something was deeply off. My relationships weren't lasting long. I felt that I was comparing myself to other people a lot. Even though I was saying the right things, I showed up in the world in the right way, at least I thought, something was really not clicking. And once I started really integrating this concept into my life on a regular basis, everything skyrocketed. So let me share with you this simple yet powerful technique you can use today to begin this journey of self-love. In order for you to start this journey, you gotta take a deeper look at where you are at in your current life and why you are doing certain things over and over and why you're making certain decisions without even you realizing that you're making these decisions over and over. Now, think about your childhood. What is your earliest memory? An earliest memory that really affected you viscerally, emotionally. An experience that when you think about it, you might have done something and it really made you feel like you did something wrong, or you got punished for something that you've done, or you were just part of an experience, part of an environment, and then you observed something and you felt like the whole experience, the whole vibe was off, and you have a certain emotional attachment to it. Grab a pen and paper and write down exactly what happened in that experience and try to really remember that memory as vividly as possible. So I'll give you my own example. When I was about 8 years old, I had just moved from a private school in Seoul, Korea to a public school. We were in an English class and I remember flipping through the textbook and thinking that I know most of the vocabulary. And because I was brought up in this environment where I heard a lot of English conversations, I think my pronunciation of these words was pretty okay. So I remember raising my hand in the classroom and having a conversation with the teacher about something. I remember after that class was over, I started getting bullied pretty severely by my classmates. When that first happened, I was very confused. I was just like, what was going on? But then this experience really made me feel like I did something wrong when I raised my hand in class and expressed my opinion and just expressed myself. Like, I shouldn't be doing that because when I do that, I get punished for it. If that was it, that would have been fine, but this bullying kept on going on and on. As I switched schools a lot every year or two during my childhood, I stood out a lot and I got severely punished for it. And yeah, that was just a horrible experience. Let's unpack what I just talked about a little bit here. If we're just talking about the experience of me raising my hand in the classroom and getting bullied, that's it, right? An experience is an experience. What happened is what happened. What I made it mean about that experience was that, okay, when I raise my hand to express my perspective, express my opinion, it is wrong. It's not the right thing to do. Because when I do that, people don't like it. I get punished for it. Why is it like that? Because when I express my opinion, invariably, whatever I say sounds different, and whatever I express is a bit different from what other people think. So therefore, I am not entitled to offer a new perspective and talk about something that's different from what people are being used to. You can see the actual dichotomy there. The actual me raising the hand in the classroom is an experience, but then me feeling that, oh, I can't do that, that's just my own interpretation. There's no factual truth in there, right? It's just I made the experience mean that, okay, when I express something, when I express my individuality, originality, and uniqueness, I get punished for it. Just because it happened once, just because it happened twice, just because it happened multiple times, doesn't mean that it's always the case. Because we're human beings, we like to make patterns out of something, and that's just the pattern I saw in my own life. I internalized that, okay, if I do X, I get punished. And for me, that X was me offering my unique perspective and me actually acting different. Now, as you go through this exercise of actually identifying your own early core experience in your childhood and what you made it mean, don't just stop at your first level of emotion. So for me, I felt very resentful for everything that happened. I felt very resignated. I just wanted to give up on everything, right? It's like no matter what I was doing, none of the good things were happening in my life. So that's the first layer of your interpretation. But then let's go deeper. Write down any residual emotions that you still feel related to this experience and how it's been impacting your life. So for me, because I was mainly in Korea experiencing all of this, Korea happens to be a society that values homogeneity, meaning everyone being the same. It happens to be a country that prides itself on most of the people being from the same ethnicity, that like it just doesn't really vibe with things or people or experiences that are different. Yeah, so my second layer of that, my interpretation was that, okay, I can't be in Korea. Korea doesn't like me. Korean people don't like me. I can't live in Korea. I need to be out of here. So that was my second layer of interpretation. So for you, not only the first layer of your immediate residual emotions that you're thinking about right now, when you think about that core early childhood experience, really dig a little bit deeper and then think about how it's been affecting you throughout your whole life without you even realizing that it's been happening in this particular way. It's pretty fascinating, right? Like how one experience and how your interpretation along the way could really shape how you've been operating your life. For me, it was a lot of resentment, resignation, pain, and sorrow. This experience was affecting me so much so that I really internalized that I cannot stay in this country any longer. And I made up my own mind that, okay, I'm gonna do whatever I can to get out of this country. At the age of 16, I moved to the US, and it just happens to be the place that I was born in, so that helped. But regardless, when I moved to the US, my first thing was that, okay, I'm gonna reinvent my identity, and I'm just literally gonna uproot myself from anything that has to do with Korea, anything that stood for Korea. I wanted to learn English to the best of my ability and really exude this non-Korean vibe. I tried as hard as I could to not make any Korean friends. This interpretation, how I made that experience mean, was so deep that me not vibing with Korea or anything that stood for Korea extended to me not wanting to actually make friends with anyone that came from Asia, right? Because it's like, if I come across an Asian person, I was like, oh, this person must be similar to a Korean person, this country that provided such a bad experience for me in my childhood. None of it is true. None of it is like a fact, you know? It's just that I made this experience mean something, and then this is what's been happening in my life as a result of my interpretation and this meaning that I gave to that experience. All right, so by this point, you will have written down not only the experience, the core early childhood experience that you had, but then all the different layers of interpretations that you gave to that experience. Go as deep as you can, write down as much detail as possible, and really write down what happened. This is your moment to really deeply self-reflect on how you've been running your life without you even knowing that this is how you've been running your life. And you'll be really surprised at what you uncovered. Just being a little bit raw and honest here, I was actually gonna talk about a little bit of a different experience, but me making this video, me preparing for this video and writing the script, I realized that the whole experience that I just discussed is by far the biggest thing that happened in my life and all the different layers of experience. So take some time to actually really reflect on it and internalize it. Once you've written down everything, acknowledge yourself for having done the work. First of all, acknowledge yourself for everything that you've experienced. It's really important for you to remember that you didn't do anything wrong. Even the fact that you gave a certain interpretation of that experience is not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. An experience is an experience. Something happened in your life early enough, and then you interpreted it in a certain way, and then you decided to behave or not behave a certain way because of that interpretation. If there's anyone involved in that core early experience, try to have a conversation. When you have a conversation with them, it's not about pointing any fingers at them or at you. It's just that, hey, I had an opportunity to reflect on my early memory. Would it be okay for me to share this with you? And if they say yes, just share everything that you just processed. If it's possible, if they're involved, forgive them as well. It's not like they meant anything bad or mean or something, right? Oftentimes, if something happens, they didn't mean anything. It's just that a lot of the time, something happened, and as again, you made that experience mean something. You kept on giving certain meaning to that experience, and then this is how you've been operating your life. Now, everything I've told you to write down on a piece of paper in front of you, read it out loud and write down that you forgive yourself, you accept yourself for what you've been doing, and that you love yourself unconditionally. Read it aloud multiple times if necessary. Feel free to tear it up, or if it makes you feel better, burn it. This is how you complete residual emotions, and this is how you complete an experience. This is a really powerful framework because as a human being, you go through many experiences in life. It's hard not to have emotions for an experience, right? We're not AI, we're human beings at the end of the day. These things are completely natural. Sometimes you feel like you've completed an experience, but then you still feel something like bad, right? You had a very heated argument with your significant other and you felt like you're done with that conversation, but then you can't help but feeling that there's something unresolved, right? When that happens, you can go through the same exercise. Calm down a little bit and then just write down what that experience means, and then, go through the deeper layers of it, exactly how I talked about it. And then if it involves someone else, simply share with them instead of pointing fingers. Completing unresolved emotions will help you fully own your experiences and start accepting yourself unconditionally. This is how to start loving yourself. Once I started accepting myself for who I really am, and once I started this journey of self-love, I no longer judged for who I really am or who I really have been. I stopped judging myself for having these different perspectives. I stopped judging myself for having unique perspectives or a very unconventional way of living my life, like moving every 1 to 2 years, having a different definition of home. Even. I also became really comfortable expressing my originality, my individuality, and really expressing my unique way of navigating my life. When you talk about charisma, confidence, and vibe, this is not something that you have to do with someone else or you have to flip on a switch. This is something that you integrate into your subconscious mind by actually giving yourself this gift of completing your experience. Take a moment to give yourself this gift and start your journey of self-acknowledgement, self-acceptance, and self-love. If you stayed until the end to complete this exercise with me, comment down below and let me know how it went. And as always, keep calm and vibe on. Peace.